sedimentology classes. Sedimentology, you everybody know the different types of rocks and how they are formed because you all are BSc final year student and MSc pass out student and some of are pursuing MSc. Okay, you everybody know there are two types of as the formation or genesis of the rock. There are generally two types of rocks. What is one is primary and another one is secondary rock. Okay, everybody you know as we see. I'm facing due to some technical issue. I will see. Sorry, Bacho. Actually, today this is online first class, na. So it may take problem.
क्या क्या हो गया भाई हमारा सीढ़ी अरे आज दूसरा ले रहा है
Okay. चलो मैं बताता हूँ. According to the formation of the rock, there are generally rocks are divided into two types. One is primary rock and another is secondary rock. Primary rock is a rock which are directly from the magma. That means when the magma becomes solidified and when the magma become cooling and after that it becomes solidified, then it is converted into a primary rock, which is known as the igneous rocks. Then another one is secondary rock, which is sedimentary rock and metamorphic rock. That means when the rock are again getting temperature and pressure, they are converted into another type of rocks, which is known as the metamorphic rock. But due to some weathering and erosion action, those primary rocks are get fragmented and they are get deposited under a suitable condition, which is known as the sedimentary rock. Okay, the sedimentary rocks is very important for the study of the earth during the deposition and coal and petroleum deposits. Okay, as we see, you all are know in the syllabus as we see GSI, NET, and GATE. You can find these are the sedimentology syllabus. You can see everyone you see the these are the GSI syllabus and this is the GATE syllabus and these are the NET syllabus. In our syllabus, we can find the classification of sedimentary as per GSI syllabus. You can find classification of sedimentary rock, their texture. Okay, in the structure texture, we can find grain size, roundness, sphericity, shape, fabric. Okay, grain size analysis. These are the things which you can find in GSI syllabus. After that, you can see these are the GATE syllabus. In GATE syllabus, you can find texture, structure, sedimentary process. Okay, and NET syllabus, you see these are classification of the sedimentary rock. These three syllabus are in correlated. Okay, we all are covering this syllabus. Okay, these are generally you see in GATE the syllabus is in GATE syllabus. You see this syllabus is very short, but generally we cover GSI, GATE, and NET syllabus. Okay, first of all, you see as we come to the introduction of the sedimentology, first we see what is sedimentology. Sedimentology means sediment plus logos. That means when rock get fragmented and when suppose this is a suppose I am facing some issues like pentap. Okay, suppose I will say, suppose large rock after getting their erosion and they are converted into small fragments, which is known as the sediments. The study of these same small fragments and after that they are converted into a rock which is known as the sedimentology. It deals with the scientific study of the sediments. Okay, the sediment words mainly derived from the Latin word which is known as the sedimentum. Sedimentum means that means the settling of the sediments. Okay. In sedimentology, as we see, it is the study of the process of formation, transportation, and deposition of the materials that accumulates as sediments in the continental and marine environment and finally converted to sedimentary rock. That means the sedimentary rock we find both in continental and marine environment. Okay, these are three main processes which follow transportation, deposition, formation, transportation, and deposition. Okay, as we see, the first the term sedimentology was given by H.A. Waddell in the 1932. Okay, why we are called sediments? Actually, these are secondary product. As we say, rocks are generally two types. One is primary and secondary. In the primary rock, we can find igneous, but in the secondary, we are classified into two types. One is sedimentary, and another one is metamorphic. Okay, when igneous, sedimentary, or metamorphic, both are getting fragmented due to the action of weathering and erosion, they are get into small pieces. Okay, when they are find a suitable condition, they get deposited. After that, they are converted into sedimentary rock. Okay, the sediments are generally fragments of sediments fragments of sediments of igneous, metamorphic, and sedimentary rock, as well as they are formed by the chemical precipitation. Okay, as we see the types of the sedimentary rock, there are detrital, organic, and chemicals. Okay, as we see, suppose in the sedimentary rock, suppose this is the earth surface. Okay, the outer surface of the earth mainly covered with the sedimentary rock. Okay, as we see, the total coverage of the sedimentary rock on the earth surface is 70 percentage. They are economically important. Why they are economically important? Because as you see, the deposition of the coal, which is a sedimentary rock. Okay, the deposition of coal is mainly the backbone of the economic of our country. Yeah, so every country depends upon the coal because this is very economically important. It contains most of the fluid resources. That means the groundwater, natural gases, and petroleum. These three are main important things. One is groundwater, natural gases, and petroleum. These all are getting deposited within the sedimentary rock. And a metallic ore deposit, the metallic ore deposit in the sedimentary formation like gold, which is placer deposit. The placer deposit of the gold you can see find in the sedimentary rock. Okay, it provides the substrate on which the structures such as house, commercial building, highways, and industrial construction, agriculture and forest products are produced. That means these things are mainly why we study the sedimentary rock. Okay, first of all, the deposition of the coal, petroleum, groundwater, natural gases. Another one is metallic ore deposit, the construction of the house building, highways, industrial. Okay, these are the main important things to study the sedimentary rock. Okay, here we discuss the what are the process involved to formation of the sedimentary rock. You can see these are the first process is weathering, second one is erosion, third one is transportation, fourth one is deposition, fifth one is lithification, and sixth one is diagenesis. That means these six processes are continuously involved to formation of sediments to sedimentary rock. Okay, what happens in the weathering? You all are know the physically disintegration and the disintegration of the rock by physically or either chemically. When a rock break down due to the action of physical or chemical, they are converted into sediments. Okay, or the weathering generally involve, you know, one is physical weathering, another one is chemical weathering, and third one is biological weathering. These three weathering process mainly involve physical, chemical, and biological weathering. Okay, PCB. These three processes are involved in the weathering process, and after that we find erosion. What is erosion? Generally, erosion is the process which includes the destruction of the existing rock. That means the breakdown of the rocks and initiate the process of transportation. Okay, you remember the two things. What is weathering and erosion? Erosion is the initiation of the transportation process. Okay, after the weathering and erosion, these rocks are get transported. You see, suppose these are the source area. Okay, in the source area, so you are see. Okay, these are the source area. In the source area, suppose due to the action of weathering action of, these are get fragmented. After the fragmentation, these rocks are get transported and they are getting deposited within a basin. Okay, after the deposition, these rocks are getting lithified. Okay, lithification means they are getting lithified. And after that, the process of diagenesis involved in the formation of the sedimentary rock. Okay, we are reading the clearly about lithification and diagenesis in the next class. Okay,
Sir,
you
what is the
remember,
difference between weathering and erosion?
you see, the in the erosion weathering process, what happens? The mechanically disintegration and chemically decomposition. Okay, but in the erosion process, what happens? The breakdown of rocks that get transportation. That means initiation of transportation. Okay, erosion is the process where it involves the initiation of transportation. Understand na? Okay, that you see the in the weathering process there are three processes are involved: physically, chemically, and biologically process. In these process, what happens? Rocks are getting breakdown. Okay, after rock are getting breakdown, they are to start transportation. Na, the process between weathering and transportation, which is known as the erosion. Okay, or as per definition, erosion is the process which includes the destruction of the existing rock and removal of the product from the site of destruction. Okay, then you know transportation, deposition, then the rock get liquefied, and diagenesis. After following these six processes, a sediments is converted into a sedimentary rock. Okay,
हाँ सर.
any doubt? कोई डाउट है तो बताओ.
सर मतलब लिथिफाइड होने के बाद डायजेनेसिस कैसे शुरू होता है?
हाँ, उसका एक पूरा एक डायजेनेसिस का एक पूरा क्लास लेंगे, उसमें बता देंगे।
अच्छा।
डायजेनेसिस का एक पूरा क्लास लेंगे, उसमें पूरा डायजेनेसिस प्रोसेस कैसे होता है, क्या होता है, ये पूरा तुम्हारा एक मतलब पूरा सिलेबस है डायजेनेसिस, उसको पूरा बता देंगे। डायजेनेसिस में क्या होता है ना, ड्यू टू द फिजिकल एंड केमिकल चेंजेस ऑफ द सेडिमेंट्स। ओके, फिजिकल एंड केमिकल चेंजेस ऑफ द सेडिमेंट्स ड्यू टू द रॉक एंड वाटर इंटरेक्शन, पूरा इसका क्लास लेंगे। डायजेनेसिस पूरा बड़ा चैप्टर है। डायजेनेसिस में क्या होगा ना, आफ्टर द लिथिफिकेशन प्रोसेस द रॉक गेट चेंजेस बाय फिजिकली एंड केमिकली, which is known as the diagenetic process. After that they are converted into sedimentary rock. Okay, चलिए प्रॉब्लम ये हो रहा है कि पेन नहीं चल रहा है इसमें।
कोई तुझे रिसीव करने के लिए आ रहा है क्या? अच्छा तेरे पास सामान
Okay, here we see the Peltier diagram. This diagram mainly reflect between the precipitation and the temperature. Along the x-axis we take precipitation and along the y-axis we take the temperature. Okay, the relation between the precipitation and temperature is known as the Peltier diagram. What is so in this, these are showing generally the weathering, the types of weathering in relation to the temperature and pressure. Suppose you see these are the maximum precipitation, that means maximum rainfall. The rainfall is 2250 mm. Okay, and the rainfall decreases from origin towards. The rainfall generally decreases towards, and you see the temperature is in degree Celsius, it is also decreased from the origin towards. Okay, as you see, higher the temperature and higher the precipitation, this is the place where you see the temperature is high and the precipitation is high. You see this area, what happens in this area, this area is favorable for strong chemical weathering. That means the area which is receives highest rainfall and high precipitation, highest rainfall and highest temperature, this area is best or suitable for the strong chemical weathering. Okay, when the precipitation is reduced, then it can happen to strong to moderate chemical weathering, and after that it is very slight weathering. You see, when the precipitation decreases from the origin, that what happens, the rate of weathering is also decreases. Okay, similarly, when the temperature decreases, what happens, moderate chemical weathering, then moderate mechanical weathering. You see the involvement of the mechanical weathering is of course when the temperature decreases. Okay, or you see this is the ice field area where the strong mechanical weathering is of course. Okay, this graph generally showing the action of weathering or rate of weathering in relation to temperature and precipitation graph. Everyone can understand, na? According to the rate of precipitation, when precipitation decreases, the rate of chemical weathering is also decreases. That means, you remember, in the rainwater, what we find? In the in the precipitation, what we find? Water. That means water is the agent which can initiate the weathering action. Okay, chemical weathering, for the chemical weathering, water is the best parameter. Okay, so you
सर
can
इस
yes bolo.
सर इसमें बायोलॉजिकल वेदरिंग इन्वॉल्व नहीं होगा क्या?
ये generally this graph generally showing the relation between temperature and rainfall with chemical and mechanical weathering. In the biological weathering, what involves? Generally, biological organism involves na precipitation and temperature. These are not organism.
अच्छा
Okay,
हाँ
these are not organism. These are generally climate parameters. These climate parameters helps for mechanical and chemical weathering. Okay, so you can say, suppose this is our Earth, na? This is equator. This is equator, and this is South Pole, and this is North Pole.
पूछ नहीं रहा हूँ बता रहा हूँ
Okay, this is equator. So you can say the strong chemical weathering happens in which field? Anybody can say? As we say, this is the North Pole, this is the South Pole, and this is the equator.
सर ऑन
Can
द
we
इक्वेटर
equator? Why? Why?
सर उस वहाँ पे मतलब प्रेसिपिटेशन भी ज्यादा होता है और
हाँ.
वो डायरेक्ट सनलाइट की वजह से हीट भी ज्यादा होता है तो टेम्परेचर भी ज्यादा ही होगा
Okay, you are correct. That means precipitation receives highest rainfall. That causes this area is best suitable for strong chemical weathering. But when we are going to the, suppose this is the North Pole and South Pole. Okay, as we consider this area, what happens in this area? The water get freezes. That means the water get converted into ice. After the conversion of the after the convert of the ice, then here mechanical weathering is most prominent. Okay, here the strong mechanical weathering. See na,
ठीक है up to you
हाँ सर
the strong mechanical weathering is involved due to the when water changes its state. That means water liquid to solid state. When water changes its state from liquid to solid, then what happens? The strong mechanical weathering is favorable in that area. Everyone can understand that?
हाँ
Fill the
सर
diagram.
हाँ.
Okay. Here, now we can read about the weathering and erosion and what are the types of weathering and erosion. Why we are reading weathering and erosion? Because this is the first step to involve formation of a sediment. Okay, so that we are mainly discuss weathering and erosion. I think your any staff maybe take any your teacher maybe take your physical geology. He also teach you weathering and erosion classes. Okay. But this process mainly involved to initiate the sediments, so that I will teach you on the weathering and erosion processes. First, you see in the weathering and erosion, I already said that disintegration and decomposition of the rock mass by various agents. Disintegration means these are rock breakdown by physically. Okay, physically breakdown. And decomposition means the rocks are breakdown by chemical action. Okay, what are the physical weathering? As you see in the physical weathering, first we read frost weathering, then we read insolation weathering, then salt weathering. These are three main processes which are involved in physical weathering.
जो मुझे आईफोन गिफ्ट कर दे 4 व्हीलर
In the physical weathering, what happens? The rocks are get breaks into smaller pieces, and
जाना तो यार
physical weathering increases the amount of surface area for chemical attack. You see, suppose this is a rock. Okay, due to the some physical action, what happens? These rocks are get converted into smaller pieces. You can see the volume also increases here. See na, volume also increases, and these small fragments are exposed to the atmosphere. You see, these small pieces are exposed to the atmosphere. In the atmosphere, they are comes in contact with oxygen, CO2. Okay, water means rainfall action. So what happens? Then physical weathering increases the amount of surface area for the chemical weathering. Okay, you can see how physical weathering and chemical weathering are interrelated. In the first, we read about the frost weathering. Frost weathering is also known as freeze and thaw action. What is freeze and thaw action? Suppose this is a rock. Okay, this is the initial stage. This is the initial stage. What happens? Suppose a crack developed in a rock. This is a crack. In the crack, water percolate through this crack. Okay, the percolation of water through this crack. What happens when temperature decreases? These water, when temperature decreases, these water get into freezes. After the freezing action, what happens? These are getting expand and generate the force for crack and widen. Can you say after the freezing action, what amount of volume increases? When suppose water, when it get converted into ice, na? Okay, what amount of volume it increases? Anyone known?
No, sir.
What happens? Suppose this is a water. When water enter into the pore spaces, what happens? Increases 9% of volume. Okay. When water converted into ice, it get increases its volume 9%. After the increase of 9%, what happens? It get expand. You see, na? It get expands, and after the expansion, it get into breakdown. That means repeated freezing and thawing action causes the rock to break up. Okay, how the frost weathering helps to breaking up a rock? You see, first of all, suppose this is a rock. Okay, in the rock, water percolate through the crack. After the percolation, what happens? Suppose the temperature decreases in that area. During the decrease of temperature, what happens? It increases its volume. It increases its volume by 9%. Okay. After the increase of volume, what happens? It get expands and repeated this action causes the breakdown of the rocks. Okay. Next, we are going to read insolation process. What is insolation process? Insolation means sunlight. How sunlight helps, how the sunlight helps to break down of a rock. You can see, suppose this is a rock, parent rock. This is a parent rock. When the rock is exposed into the atmosphere, suppose rock is exposed in the atmosphere, what happens? The rock receives sunlight. Okay, when the rock receives sunlight, the outer surface, these are the generally which surface? Outer surface. The outer surface get heated. You see, when rock outer surface is heated by the sunlight, what happens? It expands. Okay, you know na, generally what happens when temperature receive any type of material which receive temperature, it can causes expansion. Okay, if any solid type of material receive temperature, it causes it get expand. So that means during the day period, during the day period, this process mainly occurs during the day period. What happens during the day period? The exposed rock receives sunlight, and the outer surface of the rock get heated, and this goes to expand. But in the night, during the night, what happens? These rock become cools. After the cooling, what happens? The contraction of the rock occurs. Okay, so that the involvement of the day and night processes. You see, the involvement of the day and night process. What happens? Expansion plus expansion plus compression. Okay, expansion. When expansion occurs? Expansion occurs during the daytime and compression occurs during the night time. Okay, what happens? The joints are developed on the outer surface of the parent rock. You see, which type of joints? This type of joints or some foliations are developed on the outer surface of the rock, so that the original surface of the rocks are broken up and they are removed. Okay, you can see these broken pieces and they are converted into small sediments. Okay, and these are removed away. You see now how insulation weathering process occurring. This is nothing. During the daytime, what happens? The parent rock receives sunlight and it get expands. During the night, and when the both process occurs continuously, what happens? The development of the outer surface into joints and exfoliation, and these are removed after some days, some years, after some times. Then these are removed, and the remaining part are the remaining the inner part get preserved, but the outer part removed. Okay, any doubt?
No, sir.
Okay, so this process is also known as exfoliation or onion skin weathering. You see na, these are these are generally outer part, these are inner part. Okay, these are inner part and these are outer part. The outer part becomes exfoliated. You see, these are like onion shape. Okay, inner, these are outer, and these are exfoliation part. Due to the action of sunlight and during the action of sunlight, what happens? It becomes expand, and during the night time, it become contract. So here we written same things. Outer layers of rock peel off due to the insulation weathering. Stresses are naturally greatest near the outer surface. What happens? Why inner surface are become preserved? Because the sunlight okay, that means no stress is developed in the inner part, but most stresses are developed in the outer part. Due to the high stress, what happens? These are become removed. Okay, the exfoliation also takes place by repeated wetting. Wetting means during the night time, and drying up rocks surface. During wetting is outer layer absorb moisture and expands. When they dry and this finally leading to peeling. Like everyone see onion na, these are like onion skin weathering or exfoliation weathering, or it is also known as insulation weathering.
सर मतलब जो इनर जो पार्ट है ना,
हाँ,
मतलब उससे क्या हम कह सकते हैं कि इनर पार्ट ही मतलब ओरिजिनल शेप था उस रॉक का?
ओरिजिनल शेप कैसे था? ओरिजिनल शेप तो देखो, ये है इनर पार्ट, इसका डायमीटर कितना होगा? सपोज इसका डायमीटर है आर, कैपिटल आर, इसका डायमीटर है स्मॉल आर, तो ये ओरिजिनल कैसे सेम हुए?
नहीं सर, मतलब जो एक्सफोलिएशन है इसके मतलब ऐसा कोई तरीका है क्या कि मतलब एक्सफोलिएशन से हम पता कर सके कि ओरिजिनल रॉक का साइज कितना था पहले?
कैसे पता कर पाओगे? पता नहीं कर
हाँ,
पाओगे?
मतलब वही पूछ रहे हैं, मतलब ऐसा
हाँ,
कोई मतलब
देखो,
टेक्निक है
नहीं,
क्या?
क्यों पता नहीं कर पाओगे? Because the outer surface are getting removed away ना. When these outer surface are removed away, they are turns into small fragments ना और sediments ना.
हम्म,
देखो ये जो नीचे पड़ा हुआ है ना ये small sediments. तो large rock are converted into small sediments. Then पता करना मुश्किल है ना.
हम्म,
But when you are going to the field, if you are seeing this type of structure, then you can identify which type of weathering is affected in that area. ओके कोई फील्ड में दिखे हो कोई फील्ड गए हो फील्ड में एक्सप्लोरेशन वेदरिंग इसी टाइप का रॉक दिखे हो ना नहीं
हाँ सर देखिए।
देखे हो ना तो वही होता है इसका जो एक्सप्लोरेशन वेदरिंग के लिए मेनली क्या डिपेंड होता है ना सनलाइट ओके सनलाइट एंड मॉइस्चर सनलाइट के हिसाब से क्या होता है ना ड्राई होता है ड्यूरिंग द डे टाइम एंड ड्यूरिंग द नाइट टाइम इट कंटेन मॉइस्चर and what happens with due to the moisture it get wetted and due to the continuous process it get exfoliated okay बट कंपोजिशन पता कर सकते हो इसका कंपोजिशन क्या था तुम इनर रॉक का एक पार्ट ले लिए इसका कंपोजिशन जो होगा या आउटर का कंपोजिशन वही सेम होगा ये पता कर सकते हो बट उसका साइज कैसे पता कर पाओगे ओके Next, we are coming to the salt weathering. What is salt weathering? By name, you see the salt. That means the involvement of salt. Salt means the salt means evaporite. Evaporite deposition. Evaporite deposition. That means NaCl, KCl, NaCl. KCl. Okay, these are generally salt category. What happens? Suppose in the semi-arid and coastal environment, who are from Odisha and West Bengal, you know na coastal environment. In the coastal environment, what happens? The seawater is salty. Okay, in the seawater you can find this type of elements, this type of ions. What happens? Suppose this is a rock. Suppose these are the rock. Okay. When the pore spaces developed in the rock, what happens? The seawater get intruded into that pore spaces. Okay. These pore spaces are filled up with seawater. And when this water get evaporated, the solid material which are get deposited in that pore spaces get expanded. And development of the internal pressure. Can you understand? Na? Suppose this is a rock, okay, and this is suppose this is sea or ocean. When ocean water in the when ocean water comes in the contact with the pre-existing rock, what happens? The pore spaces are filled with the seawater, okay, and the water gets evaporates. After the evaporation, the ions gets deposited in that pore spaces, and these are developed some internal pressure. After the internal pressure, what happens? This type of breakdown occurs. Okay. After the breakdown, what happens? These are formed into small sediments. Can you understand now?
Yes.
यस सर।
Okay. So salt weathering generally favor in the coastal environment and semi-arid environment. ये याद रखना कभी कभी क्वेश्चन में आ सकता है सॉल्ट वेदरिंग कौन सा एनवायरनमेंट में कोस्टल एनवायरनमेंट में तो ये याद रहेगा क्योंकि कोस्टल एनवायरनमेंट में सी वाटर सॉल्टी होता है और उसके साथ ये याद रखना सेमी एरिड एनवायरनमेंट व्हाई सेमी एरिड एनवायरनमेंट because semi-arid environment means this area generally receives high sunlight. That means the temperature in that area is very high. Okay, so that this area is favorable for the salt weathering. Here, same types of things are written, caused by crystallization of salt in the pore spaces and fractures. Growth of the salt crystals generate internal pressure and it produces cracks. Okay, after the covering of the physical weathering, then we are coming to chemical weathering. In the chemical weathering, what happens? The disintegration of the, decomposition of the pre-existing rock. Here, the most prominent catalysts are water and atmosphere. In the water, you everybody know the composition water is H2O. That means hydrogen, oxygen involved in the water is the most prominent to initiate the chemical weathering. Along with in the atmosphere, you can find oxygen and carbon dioxide. Okay, these two things are most favorable for the chemical weathering. As it comes to the types of the chemical weathering, there are five types of the chemical weathering. One is hydration, second one is hydrolysis, third one is oxidation and reduction, fourth one is carbonation, and fifth one is solution. Okay, first we come to the hydration. First we come to the hydration. What happens in the hydration process? Suppose this is a rock or mineral. When this rock or mineral comes into contact with H2O, so what happens? It gets hydrated. Okay, it gets hydrated. That means, suppose this is a CaSO4. CaSO4 means anhydride. When anhydride is comes to contact with water, two molecules of water, then what happens? The formation of the gypsum. The chemical formula of the gypsum is CaSO4 into 2H2O. Okay, how gypsums are formed? Suppose anhydride, when it comes with contact with 2H2O, that means the anhydride absorb water molecules. After the absorb of the water molecules, it get converted into gypsum, and the chemical formula is also changes CaSO4 into 2H2O. Similarly, the iron ore. Everybody know the composition of the iron ore hematite is Fe2O3. Okay, when Fe2O3 comes in contact with H2O, n number of molecules, water molecules, then what happens? It is converted into limonite. The chemical composition of the limonite is Fe2O3 into NH2O. Okay, hydration is nothing. It is the interaction between the mineral and water, and the water getting absorbed by the mineral or rock. After that, there changes chemically and to form a new mineral or rock, which is known as the hydration. Okay, हाइड्रेशन जैसे कि तुम जान, अभी समर सीजन चल रहा है ना, लोग बोलते हैं कि पानी पियो, ज्यादा हाइड्रेटेड रहोगे, उसी टाइप का है. जब मिनरल और रॉक दे गेट एब्जॉर्ब वाटर, तो व्हाट हैपेंस? सम केमिकल चेंजेस occurs within it, and the chemical composition is changes due to the absorption of the water, which is known as the hydration. But in the process of hydrolysis, what happens? It involves ion exchange process. That means, suppose this is the composition of water is H2O. When H2O break down, what happens? H plus and OH minus. Okay, suppose H2O molecule, water molecule, when it breaks down, what happens? H plus and OH minus. That means the molecules are converted into ions. Okay, I think you everybody know the what are ions, what are molecules, what are elements. Ions means if you are seeing if any element losses its charge, yeah, getting its charges, it gets converted into ions. Okay, here two ions. When H2O molecule breakdown, it comes into H plus and OH minus ions. What happens? Suppose this is orthoclase. The chemical composition of the orthoclase is KAlSi3O8. Okay, when it comes in contact with water, water means H2O. So what happens? Water are breakdown into two parts, H plus and OH minus. Okay, so what happens? The yellow it is converted into aluminosilic acid. That means in the place of K, देखो यहाँ पे क्या हुआ हो रहा है, देखो in the place of K what happen, sorry, H plus comes in the place of K and K comes in the place of H. So that means the ions are get exchanged. So after that it converted into aluminosilic acid and potassium hydroxide. You see ना, H plus आ गया यहाँ पे AlSi3O8 के पास and OH आ गया K के पास. So it involves ion exchange reaction, or it depends upon pH value. Why it depends upon pH value? You see, as we know, this is, yes, huh, yeah, this is 7. The in the pH scale, you know na, this is 7, 0 to 7 to 40, 14. This is acidic and this is basic. When H plus ion get more in, when the concentration of H plus ion is more, then it is acidic, and when OH minus ion is more, this is basic. That means the acidic water helps for weathering is much more than the basic water. Okay, so that it depends upon pH value. Can you understand na? Hello.
हाँ सर.
Okay, so can you differentiate hydration and hydrolysis? Hydration means the absorption of the water, but in the hydrolysis process what happens, the exchange of ions, that means H plus and OH minus ions. Here what happens, here fully H2O get attached, but here what happens, H plus is attached to AlSi3O8 and OH is attached to KOH. Okay, these are two processes. Next one is oxidation processes. What is oxidation processes? Like hydration, in the oxidation processes, interaction of the oxygen atom with other metallic element to produce metal oxides. That means, suppose this is iron metal. Okay, suppose this is iron. When iron is exposed into the atmosphere, what happens in the atmosphere? You everybody know oxygen molecules are present. When these oxygen molecules are comes in contact with iron, it get converted into ferrous sulfate or ferric sulfate. You see, suppose this is pyrite, FeS2. Okay, in the FeS2, when it comes in contact with oxygen in the atmosphere, n number of oxygen molecule along with m number of water, what happens, it develops ferrous sulfate and ferric sulfate. Okay, this is the main process. You see, the roasting of the iron is mainly involved the oxidation processes, because these iron are exposed to the atmosphere. In the atmosphere it get contact with the oxygen, and after the contact with the oxygen it get converted into ferrous sulfate and ferric sulfate. Okay, and another one process is carbonation process. Like oxidation process, what involves oxygen? In the carbonation process, it is involvement of the CO2. Okay, that means the addition of the CO2 from the atmosphere to the mineral to form certain carbonates. Like suppose this is a rock. Okay, suppose this is a rock. When these rock are exposed to the atmosphere, it comes in contact with the CO2. Okay, and the chemical changes occurs within the rock and the release of the suppose calcium ions, Ca2 plus, is the involvement of the carbonation processes. What happens in the atmosphere? We can find H2O plus CO2. So what happens when H2O react with the CO2? It forms carbonic acid H2CO3, which is known as the carbonic acid, which is a weak acid. Okay, this is the reaction involvement of a CaCO3 plus CO2 plus H2O, Ca2 plus 2SCO3. Okay, CaCO3. This is a carbonate rock. That means limestone. Okay, CaSiO2. This is the chemical composition of wollastonite, and this is the chemical composition of albite. You see, देखो, everybody you know na. Suppose this is the carbonation process. How involved the carbonation processes? You everybody know. So this is a river flowing up the river. In the river, you can find major ions, minor ions, and trace element. In the hydrology, you can read in the water we can find three types of elements. One is major, another one is minor, and third one is trace element. In the major ion, you can find calcium. In the major ion, you can find both cation and anions. Okay. In the cations, you can find calcium, magnesium, sodium, and potassium. Okay. Similarly, in the anion, you can find chlorine, sulfate, SO4 2 minus, bicarbonate, SCO3 minus, and another one is chlorine, sulfate, bicarbonate. These are generally anions and these are generally cations: calcium, magnesium, sodium, and potassium. Okay, so can you say these type of ions we can find in the water where it is formed? But what are the source of these ions we can find in the water, like surface water or groundwater? Anyone can say? In the water you can find calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, all type of elements you can find in the all water, like groundwater or surface water. So then I have a question: keep these ions where it is formed?
सर एटमॉस्फेयर
एटमॉस्फेयर में क्या होता है?
सर रेनफॉल की वजह से
नहीं, एटमॉस्फेयर में क्या होता है? ऑक्सीजन
हाँ
and carbonate, sorry, yes, carbon dioxide. But in the water we can find calcium, magnesium, calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium. Where we get calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, chlorine, sulfate, bicarbonate? You think this thing?
हाँ सर ये पता नहीं है
You see, suppose this is the water. Okay, the source of the water, as you see in the surface water, either groundwater, there are three sources of water. One is rainfall. Okay, second one is melting of the glacier or ice. Okay, one is rainfall, second one is melting of the glacier or ice, third one is groundwater. Okay, these are the three main components which supply the water into a river. Similarly, in the groundwater, you can find these are the three sources: rainwater, melting of the glacier, and river. river and groundwater, they are opposite source of to that opposite source, because in the groundwater, river water is also a source. In the river water, groundwater is also a source. Okay. Mainly the lithology, where the river is flowing, it depends upon their chemical characteristics. That means, suppose these are the lithology, na? This lithology may be limestone. Okay. The composition of the limestone is CaCO3. The composition of the limestone is CaCO3. Suppose when rainfall occurring in that area, what happens? The interaction of the water into that parent rock, and after the breakdown, these are get dissolved. After dissolved, what happens? The calcium ion get released into the surface water or groundwater. Okay. Suppose in the atmosphere you can find carbon dioxide, and due to the rainfall you get H2O. And CaSiO3 is the parent rock. Parent rock means wollastonite. What happens? The reaction involved in bicarbonate. You see how bicarbonate, calcium and SiO2. Mainly all things are depend upon their lithology, across which river is flowing, or the source of the groundwater, yeah, the deposition of the groundwater, the storage of the groundwater. Okay, mainly the ions present in the um, water is depends upon their lithology. Can you understand or not?
समझ गए।
ओके, कार्बोनेशन प्रोसेस समझ आया या नहीं, बताओ।
हाँ सर।
तो कार्बोनेशन प्रोसेस में कुछ नहीं होता है, द इंटरेक्शन ऑफ द एटमॉस्फेरिक कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड with the certain carbonate rock that causes is released calcium ions, yeah, other ions like Na. Okay, these are mainly silicate ions, yeah, calcium ions. These are released due to the carbonation process. In this process, only the involvement of the CO2. Okay. Next one is solution. What is solution? In the solution process, water plays main important role. When mineral get dissolved due to the interaction of with water, what happens? The mineral containing chlorides, NaCl, KCl, they are released into the water, and the dissolving capacity is maximum than the sulfate and carbonate. These are important things you can remember. The chloride ions are the maximum degree of solution capacity than the sulfate and carbonate ions. Okay. Joint action of the carbon dioxide and water enhances effectiveness of the process of solution. In the leaching process, what happens? The process of removal of the soluble material from the rock in solution by percolating of water is known as the leaching process. Suppose this is a rock. When these rocks are come in contact with the water, what happens? The ions, suppose in the rock containing calcium ions. Okay, the calcium ions get released from that rock. This process is known as the leaching process. Leaching process is nothing, the removal of the ions due to the interaction of the water. Okay, the solution process is like the carbonation process. This process and solution process are the same. Next one is biological weathering. As biological weathering, there are different types of biological weathering. In the biological weathering, it involves organism, either plant or animal. Both organism are helps, yeah, initiate to the involvement of the weathering processes. One is plant root, another is microbial activity, and third one is borrowing of animal. Okay. In the plant root, what happens? You see, suppose this is a parent rock. In the parent rock, you see the root of the plant is penetrate in that rock. What happens? It get expand. Okay. After the expansion, what happened? The small fragments are produced. These things are written here. Some trees are grows within the rock. Such plant activity contribute the biological activity because here plants are involved in this type of weathering. It is known as the biological weathering. The root of the plant and trees penetrate into the soil in search of nutrient and they go through crack or joints in the rock, and as they grow they progressively crack the rock bigger and bigger, crack the rock apart, bigger growing root, पढ़ लेना, ये same thing से.
हाँ
Okay. When a tree grows into a rock, what happens? This type of expansion occurs. Due to this expansion, what happens? The rock gets fragmented.